about that. Okay. Thank you guys for your patience. I'll get right to it. I'll be mindful of time. If I go through some of the pieces really fast, it's to be mindful. Coach V, you good? Good. All right. Okay. You got a question?
Yes, I do. Will this PowerPoint be sent to us, or are you just going to?
No, it won't be sent, but I'll be happy to share.
Okay.
All right. Thank you. My name is Lindsey Huddleston. If I didn't say that before, I have a nonprofit called SPS, Sports Psychology Solutions. Before I got into sports psychology, we sort of had a life of politics and sports. I was involved in the Grand Home Administration, was involved in corporate America, but my passion was always, obviously, sports. I had the pleasure of meeting the GOAT. He's the only person I'll let rub my head. In this video, you cannot rub my head going forward, but that was a great experience with the GOAT. And I like to say, in this picture right here, I wasn't being out of order. He put my hand there for the picture. And my mother, who's leaving Vegas right now, she's leaving the fight. My whole family, they come from a boxing family. She said, and I noticed where his hands are, and my whole midsection was open. So that was a setup, even as his age was declining. But like you guys, love sports, had a great experience. Shout out to my guy DC. I know you got a lot of you guys know DC. Hall of Famers like Gary Payton. I have a podcast, and that was something we did last summer. But I spent a lot of time. I have media credentials to cover Michigan State football and basketball. So Tom and I spent a lot of time together. And during this pandemic, to be honest, our sports psychology sessions that we would normally have at the Breslin have kind of been out to the public. And if you follow my information on social media, you can see that. So over 25 years experience. I've been a teacher at Henry Ford High School, coached there, as I said before, traveled the country and Canada as a motivational speaker. I've been a corporate lobbyist after I left the governor's office with Walmart, author, media member, and sports psychology consultant. I wrote 2 books. The first was on athletes and charity called Unlikely Saviors, Realizing the Positive Impact Athletes Can Have on Society Through Philanthropy. And the second most recent one that came out during the pandemic is the SPSEdge, a guide to mental toughness in sports and life post-COVID-19, talking about how we can prepare ourselves to go forward following this major pandemic. I've been a presenter for USA Basketball. I appreciate them traveling the country, especially with the youth development team. That was Clark Kellogg and I. We were presenting in Cleveland, and I just saw him about 2 weeks ago at a golf outing, and he calls me Doc, so we got a good chance to laugh about that. Really great guy. Member of the Association of Applied Sports Psychology. That's the umbrella organization for sports psychologists. I've traveled and presented to them on similar topics I'm going to talk to you guys about in the brief time that I have. And finally, I served my country as a United States Marine. I did reserve duty. I think it's important to say that because I grew up on 7 Mile and Evergreen. Like I may have stated, the alumni of my sandbox are drug dealers, murderers, and college graduates. Many of you guys can understand that. So, like my brother who was in the Navy, he since passed, my dad who was in the Army and so on to serve, really helped me out as a young man. I think it helped me navigate a lot of these things out here. So let's get right to it, what you guys are going to be faced with. The new faces of mental health. Our dear Naomi Asaki and Simone Biles, beautiful young sisters who have taken the brunt of it to really help you guys and what's going to be happening with these young people that are going to be coming back to you tomorrow and Wednesday and so on because of what they've been experiencing. And I think we have to pose this question as coaches to them about what is mental toughness and what is mental health. It's not the same mental toughness that we knew growing up. We knew that our coaches would have went to jail, would have got caught up with all the things they did. We cannot coach like that. Kiera cannot hire a coach that says, yeah, I coach like Tom Izzo. All due respect to Tom. That's not going to work. So going forward, you need to pose the question to your student athletes, what's mental toughness and what's mental health to them? And we have to take those things into account. I just want to say, I think using terms like soft and things like that are not really appropriate now. So now you're going to have to stretch yourselves as coaches to find new language. And time is out for saying, well, this is not how I got coached. Well, this is not whatever year you got coached in. This is 2021. And are you equipped to be able to make the transition to be an effective coach in 2021. No, this athlete is not the same athlete you were. You didn't have a phone. You didn't have social media. When we were coming up, the bully was where? At the bus stop. And your stomach was bubbling until 3 or 4 o'clock until you got off the bus. But now your stomach bubbles until you pull your phone out your pocket. So respect that. Respect what these young people are going through if you want to be an effective coach going forward, all right? So pose that question to your athletes. That'll be a great icebreaker. Hey, what's mental toughness to you? Get them to start talking about that. Pose the question, how do you define mental health? And then tell them there's no wrong answers because you want to encourage your young people to get out there and share with you, right, Ms. V? Also, ask them who wants to be successful, and 90% of the time, everybody's going to raise their hand. Now you got it. Because when they say they want to be successful, now you have a tool to go back and say, well, these are the things you need to do. Right, Coach Will? If that young man Elijah we were talking to, he said he want to be successful, Coach Will said you got to get in the weight room then. So take advantage of that. Take that care and use that, all right? Also, what do you need for your journey? You got to have your academics, because nobody cares that you smooth around on the basketball and football field. You got to have your academics. I don't know any coach that's going to say, yeah, I want that kid. I know he don't have any grades, but I want him. So we have to equip our young people and tell them more about what they need for the journey. Also, my work as a sports psychology consultant, I just got off a text with one of my clients. She didn't make the Olympic trials, but she's still going to keep working hard and do some things. But these are the things I talk about in my sessions. I discuss performance issues, assessment. Every kid is different. If you come in with a one-size-fits-all approach, I think you're going to have a lot of challenges, which means you have to be emotionally available for our young people. I know that's a lot. I know you got to be a father, you got to be a wife, you got to be a husband, you got to be all these different things I can say you got to be, but then also be emotionally available to a whole set of different kids. But you guys chose to be here. You guys walked in here voluntarily on your own volition, so that is what you have to be ready to deal with. Also, here's something you got to think about as adults too. For every stimulus, there's a space in between. That's our freedom to choose. And there's a response, particularly for our young people. And I'm going to say as coaches, let's say you guys got past this part unless I catch you on the weekend and somebody say something out of order to you. But something happens, our young people are stimulated. And based on peer pressure, when they have this chance to respond, they make the wrong response. And they end up being in trouble. But what we have to encourage, what we have to model for them is that when somebody says something crazy or do something out of order, you have to model the right behavior. What good is if as a coach, you act like their peers? I'm not here to judge, and we'll talk about that in a second. But that's something you got to start thinking about, that you got to hold yourself to a higher standard. Maybe you got to just hang out with coaches for the rest of the season. Maybe your friends, your girlfriends, and your homies that you normally hang out with can be that. Because I know when I'm around certain people, there's a particular chance I could do something different. But they're always looking and watching. Always looking and watching. Mindfulness. How many of you guys are familiar with mindfulness? Okay, that's great. You will be now after this. The long definition of it, but with the sake of time, I'll cut right to it. 2 things with mindfulness. Being present, which I feel that you guys are all present. You're paying attention, especially Coach V. She's paying attention. Right? And then also being non-judgmental, which may be one of the hardest things for us to do. And I'll add an extra cultural element to that. We got a different set of judgment that we go through as black people. I know we have diversity in this room, but I'm going to speak to a particular group. We have a different set of standards, and we have to be careful not to judge our young people. I make my living by watching people's body language. Our young people do the same thing. If somebody presents something to you and you suck your lips, you make a little face or say something out of order, you've judged them. So you got to work on that before you even see the kids. Because once you judge them, you lose them. But mindfulness helps with that. It's helped me in my personal life as well as, with the things I want to do. So who uses this? Google uses it with their employees, the Mayo Clinic, my beloved Marine Corps, Columbia Business School, and now you. Just with me telling you guys the 2 principles of mindfulness, you can start to institute that. Being present in the moment. That means not looking around and see who's coming next. That means not looking at your phone all the time. I'm a victim of it myself. I look at my phone a lot, but putting the phone away. And again, being non-judgmental. How can you hear something that someone says and before you say, oh, that's stupid, or I can't believe you did that, say, you know what? Okay, well, let's see how we're going to approach this going forward. And what do we all want to get to? We want to get in the zone. What's that zone? That's the zone MJ was in when he put his hands up in the final. Like, I don't know. Or you really want to know the zone? When I had to drive from East Lansing to get here and deal with that crazy traffic and all those things. I said, you know what? Because see, I had this belief that I'm pre-approved to be successful. Let's talk about that as coaches for a second too, with the time we have here. If you go in saying, I don't know how this season gonna be, you might well not even show up for the meeting. You gotta have a belief that you're pre-approved to be successful, and if you can do that and pass that on, I'm not saying it's gonna be easy. I'm not saying I have to deal with traffic, but I knew in my mind that I was gonna make it here on time, and I was gonna be able to give a meaningful presentation, but that was a decision I made early on. If you're not sure about success, then you might well pack it in. Now, with success comes what? Hard work. You gotta do the work. I knew I wasn't gonna leave at 6:30 and expect to be here at 7. That's asinine. But my point being is to get in the zone. You can use things like the principle of mindfulness to be non-judgmental and present in the moment and do what you need to do. I couldn't make all these crazy stops. So I'm going to show up, go here first, I'm going to stop here first, and I'll be right on time. So you get that example, and I'm going to be mindful with the time we're at. And here are the 12 rules of flow. And for the sake of time, I'm going to go through these very quickly. There's always something I can follow back up with you guys. I would love to develop a long-standing relationship with you guys here. I'm going to be back here Saturday with Coach Porter for the SPS Stars Showcase. We're going to be showcasing some of Southeast Michigan's top talent in girls and boys basketball. And I'm a Trojan, but I love to be a pioneer too. No problem with that. Goal setting, imagery, mental rehearsal, positive self-talk, breathing relaxation techniques. We're going to go to Vegas in a second. I said my mom was just leaving to come back. We'll go there in a second. All right? What else? Emotional control, maintaining proper motivation, confidence, forming healthy habits, getting quality sleep, and striving under pressure. Now, for the sake of time, I want to just touch on 3 of them. Confidence is important for our young people. I'm not talking about confidence of just making a shot, whatever it is doing. You got to give them confidence every day. I'm going to go back to Coach Will when he was talking to Elijah. He was helping that young man build confidence just by talking to him, telling him to stand up straight. Hey, feeding into him. Okay, you have to understand our young people are very fragile to a degree. So you can't take your adult ways of dealing with adults and deal with this with coaches. Now, I may be speaking, it may be unnecessary for me to say that, but then again, it may be very necessary for me to say that. All right? When you get in the car, when you come in, whether you work in the school or whether you coming in for practice, stay in there for a moment, take a couple deep breaths and say, let me leave my ego here. Let me leave my adult issues here. Okay? Because we have them. Nobody said we're not going to have issues throughout the season, but let me leave them right here so I can be present for these young people for however long this practice is, etc. Here, I got you. I'm going to get through it real quick. I'm going to go through these, and let's talk about breathing techniques, okay? This is very important. Let's take a trip to Vegas. Now, it's not the Vegas you thought. It's not the Vegas that my mom was boarding a plane on in about 3 hours. It's the Vegas nerve, okay? What happens in Vegas, as you know, stays in Vegas. Unlocking the power of the Vegas nerve for self-healing, okay? The vagus nerve is that nerve that goes down your spine. So you wonder when you take a deep breath why you get this reaction and you feel a certain way. That's because you're touching that nerve. And when you touch that nerve, it puts out antioxidants. It puts out all these things to help cleanse your body. It's very important. That's why when you take a really big, deep breath, you get a certain kind of response, okay? Now, I won't go through all that. That's the statistics and the information to share that. But let's just do this really quick. On the count of 3, I want everyone to take a deep breath, okay? 1, 2, 3. Now let it out. Now we're going to do it again because I know you didn't give me everything you were supposed to give me. Coach V, did you give me what you're supposed to give me? You gave it to me. We'll see. We're going to do it one more time. And this time, I want you guys to think. I want you to breathe in all the great things you want in your life and blow out all the negative, okay? You're going to breathe in all the great things you want and blow out the negative. So on the count of 3, we'll do it one more time. 1, 2, 3. Now, I already know the answer to this. That felt great, if you really did it. That felt great. So imagine how that's going to feel for a young person. We're already shallow breathers as adults anyway. So imagine a young person that's constantly stimulated by the phone, running. If you could just take a moment maybe before or after practice and say, hey, let's just take a couple deep breaths. Coaches, I'm going to do that when we have our stations on the 3rd. That'll be what I'll be contributing along with all that. Also, for the sake of time, we'll keep moving. We talked about confidence here real quick. Everybody needs a confidence bank. My daughter, she's 9. My former wife and I, we were married for 9 years, but now my daughter is everything for me. As a matter of fact, I can't even, get through the day without thinking about her or talking about her. But it's funny when she says, Daddy, let's go get such and such. And I made a joke. I said, well, baby, maybe there's no money in the bank. She said, well, baby, just go to the ATM. I'm trying to explain to her. I said, well, baby, you got to put something in the bank before you get something out of it, right? Same thing for our young people. You need a confidence bank. Hell, y'all need a confidence bank as coaches. You need to go through and think about the times you've had success in your coaching on a large scale or small, because you're going to get low. You're going to get down. And you cannot go make a withdrawal if you have not deposited something. So it's not being, egotistical if you want to go back and think about what you've done over and over again. You got to have a confidence bank and help your young people with that. If you have a young person that has a great play in practice, say, man, put that in your confidence bank. Because they're going to need to go feed and pull that out when they get low, because that's just life. It happens like that. Last thing I'll say, we'll wrap up. You guys have been great. We'll talk, that's another conversation. Oh, really quick, I got to say this. Name, image, and likeness. You say that's for college athletes. Your seniors are going to be college athletes within a year. There is no blueprint on this, but you need to be a great resource and do some research so you can start having conversations with our young people about it. It's wide open right now, but it's going to impact their lives. But you need to become familiar with it so you can be a trusted source of someone they can go to. Keep that in mind. And finally, thriving under pressure. Language is very important. So many times people say, I'm trying to. No, your language is important. What do we say most of the time? Man, if I could just survive. I want to talk to you about thriving. Thriving under pressure means when there's a pressure opportunity, there's an opportunity for you to be the best that you can be. Imagine 2 free throws to win the state championship. What's on the other side of those 2 free throws? Free meals in Harper Woods, being known as a legend. I say basketball because I'm just partial to that. But my point being is we have to look at thriving under pressure. When pressure opportunities present themselves, we have to help our young people understand this is a great time for you to be great. Because one thing I know about our young people, they are trying to be perfectionists, and we know that's impossible. We have to just let them know if you keep working, you keep doing what you need to do, you can in fact thrive under pressure. That is the short version of what we have. That's the 10-minute miracle. I do this every morning before I get up. Instead of grabbing my phone, I try my best to go and write down for 4 minutes what I'm grateful for, Coach V. Talk about all the things I'm grateful for. My daughter, my family, even coming to see you guys. I write that for 4 minutes. In the next 4 minutes, I write my affirmations. What are affirmations? Writing what you want as if you have it already. I've done it and I've seen it come. I can give you countless times that I can't even write the things no more because they're in my life. And for the last 2 minutes, I meditate. That may be you reading your scripture, whatever you may do, but these things help me to cleanse my palate. Instead of just grabbing that phone, looking at Kiera's emails, I ain't trying to start no stuff, get yourself in order first. And then you can approach the world. Don't be reactionary, be proactive in what you're doing. So with that being said, simply put, this is my information. You can see some of my podcasts on YouTube. I'm at IG, TheSPSEdge, Twitter, H Solutions. I look forward to being a resource to you guys. Kiera has my information. And again, lastly, as I stated before, it wasn't to be braggadocious and it wasn't to be patronizing. But this is the team right here. This is the team. Support each other. And it's not really about wins and losses. I know we want to check the box for wins, but we got to help our young people be great so they can call you when they're done with high school and say, hey, Coach, I appreciate you. What do you think about this? If you've done the right things, that'll happen. And the winning will come along with that. So with that, I appreciate you guys for being a great audience. Even you too, Coach V. I appreciate what you guys are doing, and the best of luck going forward, okay?
All right, so I'm wrapping up. Just a quick recap. Did an excellent job. I wanted him to really talk about the mental health piece because we know a lot of times a lot of people are struggling with mental health. When it comes to suicide, when it comes to confidence, when it comes to